A lot of entrepreneurs dream about success. They dream about freedom, control, growth, income, and building something they can call their own. But very few dream about the part where the business fails. Very few dream about bankruptcy. Very few dream about rebuilding from the wreckage of a company they once believed would define their future. My guest today has lived that story. Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. Max Emma is a certified franchise executive, former franchisee, consultant, and co-founder of BooXkeeping, B-O-O-X, keeping. His journey began with immigrating to the United States from the former Soviet Union. From there, he built a career in corporate accounting and finance, eventually left that world behind, built a family-run landscape maintenance business, and then experienced the kind of business failure that leaves a mark. But bankruptcy wasn't the end of Max's story. In many ways, it became the beginning of a much more informed one. That experience gave him a front row seat to one of the most important lessons in business. If you don't understand your numbers, your business may be telling you something critical, and you may not hear it until it's too late. Max later co-founded BooXkeeping, a bookkeeping business that grew into a franchise. Today, he also helps aspiring entrepreneurs evaluate franchise opportunities and better understand whether franchise ownership is the right path for them. So this episode fits perfectly into our two-part format. In the first segment, we'll talk about Max's entrepreneurial journey, immigrating to America, leaving corporate life, building a business, losing a business, rebuilding a business, and most importantly, what he learned from that experience. In the second segment, we'll talk about franchising, bookkeeping, financial clarity, and how entrepreneurs can decide whether buying a franchise is the right path for them. And it all begins right now. Stick around. Hi, Max. Welcome to the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Mike, thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
So, Max, let's go back in our time machine, kind of back to the beginning, at least the beginning of your entrepreneurial story. You immigrated to the United States from the former Soviet Union. What do you remember most about that transition, and how did it shape the way you view opportunity today?
It was interesting, to say the least. When I moved, I just turned 18. So I want to say in my head, that was goodbye to childhood. So it's like literally just happened about 2 months after I turned 18. And in Soviet Union, in Russia, you start university at the age of 17. So I already finished 1 year of college. So I was part of the adult life, but I wasn't that adult. And when I came here, all of a sudden, from the person who depended on your parents, I became in charge because, I spoke a little English. At least I could understand something. My parents could not. And also two of our grandmothers, my grandmothers, came with us. So I all of a sudden became responsible to take them to all the appointments and get all the paperwork and everything else. So all of a sudden, my parents started looking at me like I became an adult, literally, as soon as we crossed the border.
Welcome to adult world, Max.
Yes, so that was like, baptizing, like a hard version of it. So it was
Yeah,
just
baptizing through fire. Yes.
exactly, that's
throw the
exactly what
throw the
happened.
kid in another country where he doesn't speak the language and not even through school yet and see what happens. Yeah, that's impressive. So before becoming an entrepreneur, you worked in corporate accounting and finance. What did that chapter teach you, and what eventually pushed you to leave the corporate world behind? It takes, there's a certain security, or at least perceived security, when you're working for someone who signs your check. You don't have to worry necessarily about, will they be in business tomorrow? I mean, sometimes you do, but generally that's not an everyday concern. You don't have to worry about all the things that an entrepreneur has to worry about. You just got to show up and do your job, do the best you can, cash your check. And some people find that, most people find that level of peace and security rewarding. Entrepreneurs are wired a little different. They tend to want to just run their own world. So what caused you to not consider the long-term 9 to 5 corporate life And and what caused you to say, I want to start signing the front of the check instead of the back of the check?
Well, the biggest reason I left it was because the corporate life they did not give me enough projects to challenge me. My role was to be responsible. The last role in the company was a large company, still one of the largest corporations in the United States. I was responsible for 7 or 8 international offices where I had to close their financials once a month, and then that would get consolidated into, the company financials. So it was an important role, but they only had enough work for me for probably a week and a half out of a month. And then I was asking for projects. I was asking for more stuff, and they were giving me some. And then they finally said, "You know what? Just do whatever you want to do. Be there, but we don't have anything for you. When we do, we'll let you know." And there were months when I was busier, but most of the time, for 2 weeks, there was nothing. Um,
Wow.
and I would come home and I would be depressed, like literally. I would just lay on the bed. I'm like, I don't like it. Because I have nothing to do. And some people probably would find it fascinating to get paid and get paid well for doing nothing, but I just couldn't do it. And the second thing, I realized, if I don't do it now while I'm young and I don't have a lot of bills to pay, because I knew it was a risk, going into a business. I didn't know that I'm entrepreneur in heart and that I'm gonna succeed. Nobody knows that going in. At least I didn't. But I'm like, I'm gonna do it now. If it's not gonna work, I can always come back to corporate life. And I did. I gave them 2 week notice. Everybody looked at me like I was an idiot because they were gonna pay for my MBA. They were gonna promote me, but I just said, I'm doing it. Screw it. And that was really it. It's like quitting smoking, cold turkey. That's exactly what I did.
Well, my parents were immigrants. I'm first generation American, and there's something about immigrant mentality. And I know, like, you didn't choose, you didn't say, "Mom and Dad, we're going to America, follow me." You went with them. But there is something about either being an immigrant or being the child of an immigrant that opens up an entrepreneurial option. It because I mean, your parents were the ultimate entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean someone who runs their own business. Entrepreneur is someone who is entrepreneurial. And to leave family, friends, culture, food, language behind and travel 9,000 miles or whichever coast you're on. If you're on my coast, I think you're in San Diego. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
am.
So our coast, to travel 9,000 miles and start life over is quite entrepreneurial. And and whether or not you appreciated that fact at the time, it still left an impression on you, and that probably led to you saying, "I don't like to not work. I don't like to get paid to do nothing. I'm bored. I need to do something bigger." That's just my. If I were to psychoanalyze you, which I'm absolutely not qualified to do, that's what the world according to Mike would come up with. Because I saw the same thing in my parents. My parents were your parents basically, and they he came. My father came from Eastern Europe, and I just saw that will in him to, you know, build his so-called American dream and all of that, and he did. What You weren't in the corporate world for too long, it sounds, but what lessons did you take away from the corporate world, either positive or negative lessons that helped you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, one lesson that comes to mind was, don't believe everything you hear. Because I remember when I took one role in the corporate world, and 2 years out of four was part of their rotation program. They would take kids who had the best grades out of college, and it was hard to get the job. I got an offer from it was Qualcomm that I was working for, which is still probably one of the largest employers in San
I,
Diego.
I know it
And
well. They're one
waiting.
of our customers. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I also had an offer from Wall Street, from Lehman Brothers, but I decided to stay in San Diego. And so 2 years out of four was a rotation program where you would go 6 months in different roles. They would introduce, it was a full-time job with benefits, stock options, but they would introduce you and then they put you in certain department where I went into international finance after that. But one of the positions, I remember the guy who was training me, he was telling me, oh, I'm working 12-hour days. This is such a challenging job. You're going to be just busy here. And then I'm taking it over and I'm like done in 3, 4 hours. I'm like, huh, am I missing something? So I go back, look at it again. And then I just realized either the guy was creating the importance for himself, or pardon, I'll say that. Hopefully, he's not going to listen to this podcast. So he was stupid, because it was literally taking me a few hours versus 12 hours. And I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to figure out, I'm going to write my own rules. So that's one thing that I learned. And second, uh, look, corporate world is wonderful. When you get a check every Friday and you can count on it, it's great. But it's also relaxing you. It just, once you become entrepreneur and start your own business, you are challenged on the time. You are risking, so you always have to be on your toes. And for me personally, that makes it fun. Again, I didn't realize it looking, I mean, at that point, because you can only connect dots looking backwards. So I could not think about it this way. I was just, something told me I have to leave. And I did. And I mean, when we started the company, actually, it was 3 employees when I took over the company and then grew it to 96 employees. But we were living on my girlfriend's salary of being a teacher assistant while she was going to school.
Hmm.
So, but our bills were very small. I mean, I think the cars were paid for, so we just had to pay rent. And it was good old days when the rent wasn't as expensive as it is now in San Diego.
Yeah, that's for sure. Everywhere in California, for that matter. So eventually, you built a family-run landscape business that grew. From what I read, it grew pretty significantly. What did you enjoy most about building that company, and where did the pressure, if any, start to show up? The pressure of entrepreneurship.
So I enjoyed learning new things. I mean, I knew nothing about landscaping, so I learned. I took the test. I got a California contractor's license, which wasn't that easy. Like the business part, I passed from the first try. I think I got 98 over 100. It was like nothing for me because I had business degree. But the specialty, all the plants and Latin, all the drawings and stuff, it was just I think it took me like 3 or 4 times, but I finally passed it. I studied my butt off. Um, and I really enjoyed learning new things and then growing the company. When we were first, it was a landscape maintenance. Then it became landscape construction. Then we started doing concrete ourselves. Then we went into design. Then we went into pools. So always adding new things, hiring new people. I really enjoyed it. One of the last projects before the company went down was a commercial building. It was a 6-story building that is still there, and I'm passing by it. It's here in downtown San Diego, not far from where I live right now, and it looks beautiful. I see all the palm trees that we actually had to bring huge crane to put it in a courtyard from the roof, and it was just completely new beginning. If we would not close the company, I probably would go into commercial construction. But you know would, could, I mean, that doesn't matter at this point. The life decided that it's going to be a different story.
Well, I'll tell you, if you had to pick a time for your company to suffer, you certainly weren't alone in the time you picked, because the
Mhm.
Great Recession, 2008, 2009, landed on everybody. There were very few exceptions. When Tell me about the recessionary period and how that landed on your business, and yeah, just tell me what you were going through at that point.
Well, being brought up in the Soviet Union, bankruptcy was a really bad word. I mean, it was just, in my mind, it was the end of life. Like literally, I took it that seriously. I'm, this is it. I'm done.
Corporate
I'll
suicide.
pretty much I'll never recover from that. I'll have to live with it for the rest of my life. And what did I know that the US government actually helped all the banks that were owed this money, and they got their money back and more. So
Yeah.
I remember that I paid all my employees. Everybody got paid. So really the only people or companies that suffer from my bankruptcy were like Citibanks, American Express, and everybody else of the world. Which again,
The
for
government
them
bailed
it
them
was
out. Yeah.
pennies. Yeah, the government bailed them out. The government did not bail us, the entrepreneurs, out, but definitely helped them. Anyway, at this time, I saw this was over. The blessing in it was that nobody was hiding. As you said, everybody suffered because I was ready to give up my entrepreneurship and just say, you know what, I tried, didn't work for me. I'm going to go work for somebody. And I started looking for jobs, but nothing was available. Everybody was laying people off. Nobody was hiding. And, I didn't have a choice but start another business. And I'm glad I did. Otherwise, my story would be different.
Yeah.
So it was scary. I didn't know what to do, but we had one baby at home and one on the way. We didn't have a choice.
There
We had
wasn't
to make it.
time. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't have time to wallow in it and feel guilty or shameful or whatever. You just needed to move forward, right? A lot of entrepreneurs carry some degree of shame or guilt after a business failure. That's human nature. That's normal. You probably had even more because of the cultural background in the Soviet Union. How did you personally process that experience? And when did it start to feel less like an ending and more like an education or a new beginning or both?
Well, who said that? Somebody famous. You cannot change the past. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that, but I've read it in one of the books, like in this phrase, you can't change the past. So I guess I realized really quick that, I mean, feeling guilty and feeling upset and being down, not going to help me to succeed in my new business. So I just like gave it up. And I, I think the actual bankruptcy, when you go through the process, and it's a process and takes longer, unfortunately, because we had to personally guarantee everything. It had to be not only business bankruptcy but also personal bankruptcy. So it was like two chapters. First we went through discharge on the business, and then we did it on the personal. So like we had to be in front of the bankruptcy judge two times. So, and
Mm.
I guess the second time when it was personal, the judge just said the case is dismissed, or we got a letter. I don't remember the process, and I don't want to remember, to be honest with you. But
No, no, of course.
I think we got a letter in the mail after like a while. Um, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm just putting it behind me, and I can concentrate on my future. So I remember when we left the hearing, the attorney just told me and my wife. He said, "Well, right now you done. Even though you're not gonna get the paper for a while, you done. You can start living your life without looking back." So I think that was the moment when I just put it behind me.
And started building Max Emma 2.0, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm still building, Mike. I don't know when people say, did that, I finished. Like I'm work in progress. I'm sure when we talk in a year or two, my story gonna be different. It might even go into different direction. Like I'm ready for anything. Bankruptcy taught me that look, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I look at everything as an experience. A relationship is an experience. Business is an experience. The end of one relationship usually means the beginning of another relationship. The end of one business usually means a new chapter.
Yeah, someone taught me a way to look at those, life moments as something's not over. There's just next.
Mhm.
What's next? And when the corny phrase is, when a door opens, a door closes. Yeah, that's or when a door closes, another one opens. That's true. But I like to frame it as, okay, well, this was fun. I don't know why it's over, but okay, what's next? What you got for me next? Like we're showing up for an assignment. And I think life gives you assignments. They just don't share them in advance with you, right? And I I look back at some of the very challenging moments that I had building my business. I started it 34 years ago, and not quite to the same dramatic conclusion as yours did, although just through you know sheer good luck and the business gods liking me that day, we survived the Great Recession barely. But now I look back at all those moments that I don't like to dwell on with gratitude. Like, you know what? I never want to go through that again. That was horrible. I never want to experience that. It was traumatic. But I'm happy that it happened. I'm grateful it happened because if it did not happen, I'd still be doing the same thing. I would still be in the same loop, which was fine. But I could do so much better. And it took something like that to kind of erase the books and come up with a clean slate and be able to reinvent. In my case, it was reinventing the company. In your case, it was reinventing another company. And that other company was BooXkeeping. Tell me about BooXkeeping. It has a couple of functions, or at least you have a couple of functions. But what drew you back into the world of accounting? The world you kind of started in professionally.
Yeah, it was a necessity when we went through bankruptcy. Me and my wife. I mean, I had bachelor in finance. I was a village idiot. She had masters in accounting, and she was getting ready to get her.
Talking about a bachelor's as a village idiot. That you're in a pretty smart village then, if that's the case.
Well, compared to her, and then she was going to sit for her CPA after she got her master's in tax and accounting. So we knew the importance of accounting and books, but we were growing the landscaping company so fast that we did not pay attention to the numbers. And we just said in passing, would be nice if we had a company who would do it. We did our own bookkeeping, but if we had a company, we would know that it's going down way sooner. And look, we just stopped making money because there was zero revenue. We were doing track homes and they just stopped building. So it was just, like zero income. The expenses I was able to restructure, but when it's zero income, you don't have money to pay.
Yeah. You don't fix
For the
zero
equipment and
income.
stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
That's not a strategic misstep. That's a
yeah.
calamity. Yeah.
For sure. But, again, we were just talking, well, it would be nice if we had a company. And then when we started a new business, we were looking for a bookkeeper in town. And we got 20 proposals. I mean, I didn't think that I'm going to get 20, but I started. I'm like, I'm having fun getting them. And I got 20 proposals for the same scope of work. And the price varied from $200 to $2,000 for exactly the same scope of work a month. And I'm like, it cannot be right because I understand 200 to 400, you can explain it, but 200 to 2000. And that's when we decided we are doing bookkeeping. And bookkeeping started, I say in the garage, but Elena, who is the co-founder of bookkeeping, and now she's my ex-wife, but we're still building the business together. She reminded me that we actually kicked our 1-year-old to his brother's room and started the business in the nursery. So I
Ah,
guess it's even more exciting. So hopefully
yeah.
the now 16-year-old not gonna listen and just blame parents for kicking him out to his brother's room. But I think he's okay. Uh,
The cost of having entrepreneurial parents. Why? Tell me the story behind books, Boox keeping versus K.
So we just wanted a unique name that we can
Okay.
trademark, and that's actually was a great story because I went to a patent attorney and he told me you will never get an approval because it's a common word. You're only changing one letter. Never ever USPTO will give you a permission. So don't even try. Stick with Max's bookkeeping or whatever it is. Diamond bookkeeping something.
So
And I'm like, you know
of
what?
course, Max tried anyway because that's what Max
Yeah, of
does.
course, but exactly. That's exactly what happened. I'm like, what do I have to lose? It's $1,000 to apply or whatever it was. The worst I'm gonna hear is no. So we did it and we got approved on the first try. So
You know
I'm
what's
so happy I didn't listen to this particular attorney.
Ironic? People who speak English as a second language. or third language. It's not uncommon, depending on the country they come from. It's not in their language. It's not uncommon for them to mix up the English version of plural or not. For example, when people come over from Asia, from China, they'll start a business, and they don't understand. They don't have the same concept of plural. Add an S to something if it's more than one. So
Hmm.
there'll be there was a sandwich shop we used to go to near my office, and they had a sign up, best French fry in town. No, no S. And I'm just like, is there only one good fry in this box of fries? And some languages will throw S's in when they're not needed. And if so, my thought was you were kind of poking fun at someone who might come here from another country and say books keeping with an S, BOOKS
Hmm.
keeping, because they were kind of mixing up their plural rules. And but no, yours was actually much more practical than I way overthought that one. Yours was
Yeah,
practical. You wanted to get a
it,
trademark.
it was practical, yes, but we're still going and arguing who said it first because we were playing with the words. And the funny thing, our whatever he was 2 years old, brought the um, like some kind of thing from the daycare, and we both were sick, and we went to our friend's birthday party in Beverly Hills, but we couldn't drink because me and my wife, we were on antibiotics, so we're sitting outside. I remember that everybody else was drinking, having fun, and we were just playing with the words, and somehow in the conversation, it was like a ping pong of words, we came up with bookkeeping. It was, wow, we don't hate it, we like it, and we just, that's how the company name started.
Whole lot easier to get a URL when you spell it that way than
Yeah, for sure.
bookkeeping.com. What changed in you as an entrepreneur the second time around?
Well, I guess I was more experienced. I was not as scared to fail, and so I was more mature, and so that definitely helped. And also, um, it's a different sales process because I started selling to CPAs, to people who own businesses, versus selling to homeowners, because before it was a B2C sales, and
Yep.
now it became B2B, business to business. So just I had to change the model, but I was having fun doing both. And for a few years, I was doing both B2C and B2B until we sold the landscape maintenance company for profit this time. And actually, we're able to concentrate on bookkeeping full time.
So you've been both an entrepreneur and a franchisor.
Mhm.
What do people misunderstand about franchising? Is it a shortcut to entrepreneurship? Is it a different kind of entrepreneurship? Kind of put that in a explain that to me.
So, being a franchisor is definitely entrepreneurship because you're starting something new and you're taking risks. However, I think when people believe that being a franchisee makes you entrepreneur, I don't think so, because when you becoming a franchisee, you have to follow the system, you have to follow the rules, and it's not gonna give you opportunity to change much, because you're not gonna be able to sell your grandmother's pizza recipe if you own Domino's Pizza. Domino's doesn't want to see it; they want to see their recipe. Their pepperoni has to taste the same in China, Russia, or San Diego. So, and I understand it. But if you open a second location, now all of a sudden you're becoming an entrepreneur in my book, because now you have two businesses that you have to run. You have to juggle, and you have people in each of the businesses. So that's one thing. And second, when you start a franchise, I didn't know that it's going to be that complicated and that difficult, to be honest with you. I just literally, the idea came to me at night. I woke up and wrote the business plan on a napkin. And then from that, we just did the numbers, and it was a more formal business plan. But the idea just literally, I woke up in the middle of the night. we're going to do the franchise. Because the original business plan for bookkeeping, we wanted the company to be nationwide, and we are nationwide now. It just we took a different route to get there.
What kind of person makes a good franchise owner, and what kind of person should probably not consider a franchise?
Well, I would make a really shitty franchisee because I would not follow the rules. I would be the
Well,
one
you'd
who
also
would be
make a
telling
pretty
the
shitty employee now. I mean, entrepreneurs, once they get the
yes,
taste of doing things their own, we're not hireable anymore. We would be fired
yes,
because we don't do
yes.
stupid. We're bulls in china shops. We we are constantly obsessed by the shiny object in the corner, right? I mean, that's who we are. That's how we're wired. I'm assuming you're the same, just based on the
Yeah,
number
yeah.
of things you've
I
done.
probably would not. Yes, I probably would not be able to be a good employee for somebody unless they put me in a creative role and just say, you know what, just
Right.
do what you like. Then I
Max do
probably will.
Max. So Max would
Yes,
not be a good candidate to buy a Subway or a Domino's or a Bookkeeping.
unless I buy 10 locations or five and then have a manager to run it and
Right.
just let them run with it. And I would be just, coming in as an advisor, once a week and give the advice. So that's probably that I will do at some point because I think it's fun. I've never had it, but I always wanted to try. But again, it's different than work in a business day to day. Who makes a good franchisee? Somebody who can follow the rules and somebody who can follow the system, because that's what franchise it's a blueprint of how to run the business. The idea that an average person should be able to get the average results that people before him or her actually were able to get in a certain franchise. So you get superstars here and there, but any franchise is designed for a normal person to just do it and hopefully get to the results faster, because uh, franchise shortens the ramp up period in most cases.
Sure. If a person without accounting or finance experience says, "I like this concept of bookkeeping," for
Mhm.
example, is it common for someone without a financial background to become a franchisee of an accounting practice, a bookkeeping practice, or are they more owner run? In which case, you're selling to people who already have some kind of finance degree, or they're a CFA or something.
We have both. We have CPAs who becoming franchisees. We also have quite a few corporate refugees, as I call them, somebody who left the corporate America.
Yeah,
They left corporate America to start the business. Um, I always say you have to be numbers friendly. So you just have to see financial statements before, but you don't have to necessarily know it because we are going to teach you. So we provide very good training. All the franchisees get 3 months of accounting school, they get 9 months of sales training, and then they get 12 months of executive coaching, where we help them. I mean, I don't do that, but Elena does. She helps them to get um, through their head trash and to be able to grow the business. And I see very huge success in that. Just to give you an idea, one of my franchisee was a 7-year NFL veteran. Yes, he went to Columbia and had a business degree, but after that, he didn't run any business. He was playing in the NFL for 7 years, and then he bought bookkeeping. We have one franchisee now who is a former police officer. Yeah, he took finance in college, but that was a long time ago. But he learned. We have quite a few executives, former executives, who just left for different reasons, corporate America, and decided to have their own business. So you have to be numbers friendly. I have minor in history, so I can joke about the history majors. But I always joke that if you're a history major and never seen financial statement in your life, probably it's not a business for you, unless you're going to hire a manager who will run it for you.
there you go. Watch out for those history majors. Uh, when someone is evaluating a franchise opportunity, what are the warning signs that they should be looking for before they sign anything?
Well, you have to study the FTD, the franchise disclosure document. and really see, because a franchisor by law has to disclose a lot of information. So you have to um, read through it and understand. And but before you even do that, in my opinion, you have to choose the right industry that you want to be in. And do not mix your hobby with your business, because like you could be the best cook, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be a great restaurant owner, because people think that McDonald's is a restaurant business. I will argue that McDonald's is
They're a real
people's
estate
business.
business. They're
Real estate for the franchisor, but for the
yes,
franchisee,
yes,
each location has an average of 50 employees. So usually you buy a pack of three in McDonald's. So for pack of three, you have 150 plus employees working for you. So you are in people's business, not
yes.
because making hamburgers, French fries, and everything else, there are machines to do that. You just have to follow the rules. You're
Yeah.
not cooking. It's not an art. It's not a steakhouse where you have to make the steak perfect. It's gonna come out the same if you press the right buttons. I mean, I don't want to make it sound that it's that simple, but it is that simple. That's the whole point of the QSR, of the quick service restaurants.
Well, it's probably a lot more simple if you don't fight against it, right? If you have confidence in the system, if there are examples of successful systems out there, I would be worried about buying the first franchise because
Uh,
that would worry me if not my first franchise, but if if you opened a donut shop tomorrow, and yeah, you're doing pretty good, and all of a sudden you said, "Oh, I'm going to franchise it." I want to see two or three successful donut shops before to know that it's not just luck; it's actually a system. And so but that's part of it too. I would think that if I'm going to buy a franchise, I'm going to visit 10 of them, you know, uh, undercover and see if it's
yes.
if it's a fluke or if it is the system that's working.
Yes, but I've been in franchising for a while, and I know very successful people who came in as a franchisee number one and were able to get the prime territory, get the
Well, that's
better
the other side of it.
deals,
Yeah,
pay better price. And look, when you're franchisee number one, two, three, four, five, a franchisor will make you part of their family. You'll be able to talk to him or her anytime. Like franchisees of Bookkeeping right now have my personal cell phone number, and they literally can text me 24/7 and I get back to them right away. But at some point, when let's say I have 100 plus franchisees,
right.
when I get to this level, I simply cannot. I mean, I've been to some franchise conferences where people stay in line to take, not Bookkeeping, but other brands, stay in line to take a picture with the CEO because they only
Right.
see the CEO once every 2 years during the conference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. It might be riskier, yet the opportunity is greater. The reward is greater. The
The
cost is
higher the
lower.
risk, the higher the risk, the higher the reward.
Yeah, no, that's the way life
It's
works.
an any business. Yep.
A lot of entrepreneurs want freedom, but they don't always realize that freedom requires structure. Structure, for example, like a franchise provides. How do systems, financial discipline, and accountability create more freedom instead of less? In other words, I can look at like I don't want to do a franchise because I want to be free to change the pizza recipe. But I can also say having all this structure opens up a great deal of freedom in other ways. How do you reconcile all that?
Well, you have to start with the goals. What do you want to get out of it? I mean, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Like, what do you want to do? If you want to get to the end result faster, then I would argue franchise is the right way to do it. But yes, it has its limitation. Yes, franchisor gonna listen to you. I always remind my candidates that the best. Products came from franchisees. So a KFC bucket came from a franchisee recommendation. A Big Mac came from a franchisee recommendation. McDonald's didn't have Big Mac, and now it's the best seller. But if somebody comes in and gonna offer to sell pizzas in McDonald's, I see their CEO saying no to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to know your goals. and then you want to know how much time and energy and money, for that matter, you want to uh, give before you become successful. So you have to start with the list of questions, give the answers to this question, and then decide which route to go. And honestly, Mike, that's the reason why I opened the franchise consulting and franchise brokerage business, because somebody not a good match for bookkeeping. Before, I was just saying, well, good luck and what you're doing, but now I can help them to choose over 600 from over 600 different franchises, and my services are completely free. As a matter of fact, we get paid by a franchisor if they buy a franchise through us, and I even give them part of my rebate and pay for 9 months of their sales training.
Wow. What are the, if there are any definable standouts? What, I don't mean specific companies, but what types of franchises seem to be moving today, maybe more than others? What's hot?
So what's hot? It's a great question, but what was hot a year ago is not hot
Right.
anymore.
By the time this airs, it
And
may be cold. Right.
Exactly. I remember 2020, I went to a franchise conference. It was about a month before we went into lockdown, and everybody was talking about fitness. Like, you had to be an idiot not to open a fitness franchise. And guess what happened in 30 days?
All
The
the idiots
country
bought,
got shut down.
bought franchises, fitness franchises.
Well, and they've had to close their businesses. A lot of the young franchisees, young meaning, who just opened
Yeah.
fresh off the boat, had to close because the gyms were closed for a while, and some states for a long while. I mean, the big guys stayed and became stronger. I mean, and acquired, and because they were able to provide the online program, they had
Yeah.
the financial resources. So that was hot. And now, yeah, I still see some successful fitness franchises, but it's not as many as it was. Then the senior in-home care, everybody was saying the US population is getting older. This is the business. You have to do it. Yes, but now there are 64 franchises in the space. 64 plus a lot of one-offs. I mean, small shops. So I think it's oversaturated. So in my opinion, now with AI, what's super hot is all the home services business. Remodeling, something that AI can help by scheduling, by doing the estimates, but you still have to go to a job. I think
Right.
in 3 months and 3 years, the welder and electrician will be the hottest professions out there. I mean,
Oh, 100%.
a
Yeah.
lot of attorneys are gonna switch and become, you know, this, because right now it's required and people make really good money. I just read an article, I think, about Wall Street Journal, that an electrician who works on data centers making on average $300,000 a year. 300,000. A lot of attorneys wait years
Yeah.
to start making this money. And right now, I was told the young attorneys out of law school cannot find a job. I
Yeah.
haven't verified it, but I've heard that this is becoming an issue because now AI is replacing them. I mean, all the senior guys, they are there. You need them. You want their expertise, but all the young
No, I think the
people,
junior
they just
attorneys, the paralegals, yeah, they're largely going to be replaced by AI. We're about out of time, but I do want to ask you one more question. So go back in time when young Max got off that airplane in a brand new country, barely speaking English, in this new land, new culture, new language, new food. How would that Max have defined success? And how does today's Max define success?
Well, when I just came from Russia, my first job was bussing the tables in a restaurant, which then this job led for me to get a job at Costco, where I worked for 5 years while going to school. And they gave me scholarship and they gave me all the benefits. It was a great job. And I actually got this job from a lady's recommendation who was coming to this restaurant every day having coffee after her work at Costco. And she just lit it. And I was nice to her. I was smiling. So my success then was to actually learn the damn English and, get out of this restaurant, because now looking back, I was bullied by the other bus boys who are working there. Not physically bullied, but I realized that after I left, that apparently waitresses gave
Oh, they
part
pay
of the
out
tips
tips.
to the
Yeah.
busboys. Yes, I never got a penny. So in 3 months
Wow.
that I was there, I never. So these guys never shared with me. like
Wow.
never. Yeah, so that it was that bad. So honestly, I'm not a vindictive person, but I really enjoyed coming back for a few years while I was working at Costco and just looking that the same guys still work there. So
Yeah.
that was awesome. So for me, success then was just to move to the next level. The success now is just enjoy the process. Like I stopped looking at the end result because okay, let's say I have a goal of the amount of dollars that I want to have. Once I have it, then what? Am I gonna just stop and just say, okay, I'm ready to die? I made this amount.
Right.
I really enjoy the process. I love traveling. I been to 54 countries. I planning to visit four more this year. I'm always looking for the next one. I'm on my goal to visit all 50 states. I love musical theater. I love spending time with my friends. I love good scotch. I love good cigar. So I'm enjoying it now, and I like going to gym. So at 4 p.m. I shut down my computer and I go to gym because if I stay and keep working, it'll be 8 9 p.m. There's gonna still have stuff to do,
Yeah.
but I gonna realize I didn't have dinner, and I'm exhausted. So I'm choosing not to do that because I'm enjoying the process. This is success. It's not the end goal. And I see people, well, my goal is to buy Ferrari or whatever your dream car. I'm like, and then what? You're going to buy Ferrari. What are you going to do after
Right.
that? Are you just going to stop? You done? No,
Yeah.
then you want to do something else. So you never can touch horizon. You can,
Yeah.
horizon is always moving.
It's
So
always in the distance. I agree with you 100%, and I'm the same way. To me, the journey is where the richness is. That's where the fun is. That's where the learning is. Not a destination. I actually don't have a destination. So many people think I'm something wrong with me because my entrepreneur friends will go, what's your exit strategy, Mike? I'm like, my exit strategy is not to have an exit strategy. My exit strategy is enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. When the time comes, it'll be obvious and I'll figure it out. But I love the journey more than I ever thought I would. You know,
so my business coach is always saying that enemy of thriving is arriving, and it's absolutely true.
yep. Yeah. And I think that it's hard for younger entrepreneurs, and I don't mean chronologically young, but people who have not been in it that long, that are still slaying the dragon, fighting the battles, wondering what the hell was I thinking when I thought this would be a good idea. I think they'll hear this and go, that makes no sense. And they are absolutely correct. It makes no sense at that moment. But trust me, trust Max, it will. Once you slay enough dragons, once you learn all the lessons, once you wipe off your bruises and bloody knees and come out the other side through grit and persistence and consistency and growth, personal growth, you will get to the point where the journey is sweet and it's not all slaying dragons. It gets better, and everyone has their own timeline. In my case, it took a couple decades before I could really, before one day I'm like, we haven't had a crisis in a while. It's not like success announces itself. Congratulations, they give you a success certificate. You don't even see it coming. It's just one day you kind of look back and go, hey, we haven't run out of money in a while. We haven't had a payroll scandal in a while. We haven't had an embezzlement in a while. We haven't, and then it's just like, shh, don't jinx it, but when it's not like when you're ascending in an airplane and you're in the clouds and all of a sudden you break out of the clouds like that. It's not like that. It's the clouds just slowly disappear, and now you're in blue skies and smoother air, and that's just the way. At least in my world, that's just the way it worked. But Max, we're about out of time, so I just want to thank you for sharing your journey with me and my audience. You're quite inspiring. I love the multiple regenerations of Max. I love how you can't pin Max down. And I like your story. I like how you came here from the former Soviet Union with your parents and family and learned the language, learned the culture, learned business, and didn't do what, everyone expects of someone to do in your situation. You made the world Max's world, and had a couple versions of that, a few versions of that. And I think that's super inspiring, and I think everyone can be inspired by your journey and what you've done with your life and your business and all of that. So thanks for sharing that with me. For my audience who would like to get more information on BooXkeeping, and either as a franchise or if you want to talk to Max about other franchise opportunities, or you want to talk to Max about having BooXkeeping do your books. Either way, there's a lot of reasons to talk to Max. If you're watching this on YouTube, look down here right below me. It says See More. Click that, and the information on Max's company and the links to Max's company will be there. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, just go to the podcast app, look at the show notes, and that information will be there as well. Max, Emma, BooXkeeping, thanks for all the time. Thanks for the generosity of your time and spending all the time with me and my audience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. It was great. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, here are some final thoughts. Max's story is a reminder that failure is only final if we refuse to learn from it. He didn't just experience a business failure, he studied it. He looked at what went wrong. He recognized the role that financial visibility, bookkeeping, and decision-making played in that outcome. And then he built a business around helping other entrepreneurs understand their numbers before those numbers became a crisis. There's also an important lesson here about franchising. A franchise may come with a brand, a model, and a system, but it doesn't remove the responsibility of ownership. You still have to lead, you still have to sell, you still have to manage people, you still have to understand the numbers, and you still have to be honest with yourself about what kind of entrepreneur you are. For the entrepreneur, that may be the biggest takeaway. Business ownership isn't about avoiding risk, it's about understanding risk clearly enough to make better decisions. Max's journey show us that the books aren't just paperwork. They're not just something you hand to your accountant once a year. They're the dashboard. They're the warning light. They're the truth teller. And sometimes the difference between a business that survives and a business that doesn't, it's whether the entrepreneur is willing to listen. Now, that is a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been very busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com, where you can apply or recommend a guest or just learn more about the show. And don't forget to check out my newest series, Reluctant Lessons, When Businesses Go Wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and the story behind it all. We've already profiled several companies with many more on the way. As it turns out, there's no shortage. Check out Reluctant Lessons on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon, and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And finally, to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance, remember this: sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. Thank you all so much for being here. I truly appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again soon.